Okay, in this video, I would like to read some story. The title is Alibaba and for the 40 Thieves. In Persia, there lived two brothers. They were Qasim and Alibaba, who at their father's demise had divided the little wealth, and he had left to them with equitable division, and had lost no time in wasting and spending it all. The elder, however, presently took to himself a wife, the daughter of an opulent merchant, so that when his father-in-law fell to the mercy of Almighty Allah, he became owner of a large shop filled with rare goods and costly wares, and of a storehouse stocked with the precious stuffs, likewise of much gold that was buried in the ground. Thus he was known throughout the city as a substantial man. But the woman whom Ali Baba had married was poor and needy. They lived, therefore, in mean lawful, and Ali Baba eked out the scanty livelihood by the sale of wool, which he daily collected in the jungle and carried about the town to the bazaar upon his three asses. Now it changed one day that Ali Baba had cut dead branches and dry wool sufficient for his need, and had placed to load upon his beads, when suddenly he espied a dust cloud spiring high in air to his right, and moving rapidly towards him. And when he closely considered it, he descried a troop of horsemen riding on a main and about to reach him. At this sight, he was sore alarmed, and fearing lest perchance they were a band of bandits who would slay him and drive off his donkeys. In his affright, he began to run, but forasmuch as they were near hand and he couldn't escape from out the forest, he drove his animals, laden with the fuel, into byway of the bushes and swarmed up a thick trunk of a hog tree to hide himself therein. And he sat upon a branch whence he could discern everything beneath, with whilst none below could catch a glimpse of him above. And that tree grew close beside a rock which towered high overhead. In front of the big rock, the thief said, "Open, Sesame." With the magic words, the big rock opened, and the 40 thieves went inside. And after all the thieves left, Ali Baba came closer, and he said, "Open, Sesame." And then the rock opened, and Ali Baba went in. He was surprised to see the whole room filled with the bells of all manner of stuff. Ali Baba determined in his mind that not during a few years only, but for many generations, thieves must have stored their gains and spoils in the place. Then he took some treasures home. When he got to home, he was greeted by his wife. But she felt them, and finding them full of coins, suspected that Ali Baba had been robbing, and fell to berating and blaming him for that should do so ill thing. Then Ali Baba said to his wife, "Indeed, I am no robber, but rather do thou rejoice with me at our good fortune." Then Ali Baba hid the treasure buried underground. His wife is still suspicious of Ali Baba, while Ali Baba wants his wife not to tell this to anyone. Soon the wife of Qasim, found out that her husband's brother Ali Baba had wealth that was kept secret, and her wealth was even greater than her husband's wealth. And she told this situation to her husband, Qasim. And Qasim were very jealous. He visited Ali Baba's house and he said, "Where did you get all these things?" Qasim kept asking and asking. And finally, Ali Baba told to Qasim about the secret place. Qasim couldn't wait. He ran to the cave and he shouted, "Open sesame." And then the door opened. The portal yawned wide at once, and Qasim went within and saw the piles of jewels and treasure lying all around. And as soon as he stood amongst them, the door shut after him as one to do. He walked about in ecstasy, marveling at the treasure. And when weary of admiration, he gathered together bags of ashrafis and sufficient lot for his 10 mules, and placed them by the entrance in readiness to be carried outside and set upon the beast. But by the will of Allah Almighty, he had completely forgotten of the magic words, and he cried out, "Open, O barely, open the donkey," and etc. What he said, where the door refused to move. He tried and tried. However, it didn't work. Not at all. And soon, the thieves come back, and Qasim was killed by the angry thieves. Now, when night fell, and Qasim not coming back home, his wife waxed uneasy mind and asked to Ali Baba to bring her husband back home. Ali Baba also divined that a mishap had happened to prevent his return. However, he strove to comfort his Qasim wife, giving a word to cheering up. Thereupon, comforted in spirit, Qasim's wife fared homeward and sat awaiting her husband's return. So she wept in silence, crying in silence, herself out, thinking, "Wherefore did I disclose this secret to him and beget envy and jealousy of Ali Baba? It's never happened to me and my husband." Soon, Ali Baba went to the cave back and found his brother was killed, and he took his brother and he buried him in a nice place with help of Qasim's maid. While Qasim's wife was very sad to hear the news. And when the 40 days of mourning were ended, Ali Baba removed to his own quarters all the property belonging to deceased and openly married Qasim's wife. Then he appointed his nephew to become her son. And one day, when the robbers, as was their wont, come to the treasure cave, that they marveled exceedingly to find neither sign nor trace of Qasim's body, whilst they observed that much of gold had been carried off. The thieves were even more angry. They said, "Someone was here, and he took the man. Let's go to the fount and find him." Soon, they knew that it was Ali Baba. Finally, one of the thieves found Ali Baba's house. He put a mark on Ali Baba's door. However, Ali Baba's maid saw it, and she put the same mark on all the doors in town. The next day, the thieves came to get the Ali Baba. However, all the doors have the same marks, and they couldn't find Ali Baba's house. In the end, the thieves found Ali Baba's house, and they went in. They hid themselves in big jars. However, the maid saw again them hiding. She poured boiling oil into the jars. The thieves in the jars screamed, "Ah!" and then they all died. But the captain robbers hiding again. He come back to the jungle. Later, Ali Baba learned what happened. He was surprised by her help and her wisdom, and said, Thank you for saving my life." Ali Baba caused not to be ill, and is less happily the captain of the surviving two robbers should wreak their vengeance on his head. He kept himself private with all the caution, and took heed that none would learn a word of what had happened, and of the well which he had carried off from the bandits' cave. Meanwhile, the captain of the thieves, having escaped with his life, fled to the forest in a hot wrath and sore irk of mind. And his sins were scattered, the color of his visage vanished like acidic smoke. Then he took the matter over again and again, and at last he firmly resolved that he must take life of Ali Baba. Else he would lose all the treasure which his enemy, by knowledge of the magical words, will take away and turn to his own use. Furthermore, he determined that he would undertake the business single-handed, and after getting rid of Ali Baba, he would gather together another band of banditti and would pursue his career of brigandage, as indeed his forebears had done for many generations. Then the robber captain, going to the city, alighted at a caravanserai, thinking to himself, Doubtless the murder of so many men had reached the wali ears, and Ali Baba had been seized, brought to justice, and his house is leveled, and his good is confiscated. The townsfolk must surely have heard tidings of these matters, thought the robber captain to himself. Then the robber captain met with Ali Baba's nephew, or Ali Baba's son, and he went to Ali Baba's house as if he were a guest. However, Ali Baba's nephew said, "Be my guest." Then Ali Baba's maid knew who he was. Furthermore, when she eyed him attentively, she spied a dagger hidden under his robe. The maid, Morgiana, went back to the kitchen and talked out her plot against the robber captain. The maid knows then the robber captain wants to kill Ali Baba, so she has a plan. Then Ali Baba said, "Relax and enjoy the show," said Ali Baba, because the maid want to give some entertain. And then she dancing, she broke two swords and she started to dance, and she moved and she come closer to the thief. Then She stabbed at him quickly. Ali Baba was dismayed and cried in wrath, "Oh, unhappy! What is this thou hast done to bring about my ruin?" But she, the maid, replied, "Nay, O my lord, rather to save thee and not to cause the harm, I have slain this man. Loosen his garments and see what thou wilt discover thereunder." So Ali Baba searched the dead man's dress and found concealed therein a dagger. Then said, "This wretch was thy deadly enemy," said the maid. Then Ali Baba lavished upon her thanks and expression of gratitude, saying, "This 2 times has to save me from his hand," said Ali Baba. And falling upon her neck, he cried, "She thou art free, and as reward for this fealty, I have wedded thee to my nephew." That means Ali Baba wants to the maid marry with his nephew as a gift. Ali Baba's nephew straightway consented to marry Morgiana, the maid. After which the three, raising the dead body, bore it forth with all haste and vigilance and privately buried it in the garden. For many years, no one knew aught thereof. No one knew what happened with Ali Baba. In due time, Ali Baba married his son to Morgiana with grim pomp, and spread a bright feast in the most sumptuous fashion for his friends and neighbors, and made merry with them and enjoyed singing and all manner of dancing and amusements. He prospered in every undertaking, and time smiled upon him, and a new source of wealth was opened unto him. For fear of the thieves, he had not once visited the jungle cave wherein lay the treasure, since the day he had cared for the corpse of his brother Kasim. But some time after, he mounted his hackney one morning and journeyed thither with all care and caution, till finding no signs of man or horse, and reassured on his mind, he ventured to draw near the door. Then, alighting from his bed, and he tied it up to a tree, and going to the entrance, pronounced the words which he had not forgotten, "Open, Sesame." Hereat, as was its wont, the door opened, and entering thereby he saw the goods and hoard of gold and silver untouched, and lying as he had left them. So he felt assured that no one of all the thieves remained alive, and that to save himself there was not soul who knew the secret of the place. At once he bound in his saddlecloth out it home. And after days he showed the hoard to his sons, and sons taught them how the door could be cast open and shut. Thus Ali Baba and his household lived all their lives in wealth and joyance in the city, whereas he had been pauper, and by the blessing of the secret treasure he rose to high degree and dignities. Okay, that's all the story about Ali Baba and 40 Thieves. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi